Tashitele, Garchen Rinpoche, Tashitele, Garchen Rinpoche, Tashitele, everyone. Yes, today we will be starting the teachings very soon. In fact, now, so please let us recite the sadhana, and then the Rinpoche can start his teachings. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Buddhahood. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merits of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of the happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. I beseech the great Vajradhara, Tilopa, Naropa, Marapa, Milarepa, Gampopa, Pakmokdukpa, Lord Jiten Songkhon, at the feet of the root guru, who possesses the three ways of kindness, and all the root gurus and spiritual masters of the lineage, the Idams and Dharma protectors. May your marvelous blessings permeate my mind. You have realized the uncontrived self-aware Dharmakaya. Your unconditioned great love pervades all beings and realms. With your immeasurable enlightened activity, you guide those to be tamed according to their inclinations. I supplicate you, the son of the teachings of the absolute truth. The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the four continents, and the sun and moon. As a Buddha field, I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha fields. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma, of the greater, lesser, and ordinary vehicles, in accordance with the understanding and different mental capacities of sentient beings.
모두 제제된 바 삼제진 바도 바보 소나요 대잡제 대비주로 사들로도 모두 자자게 게베리 솔레로제 제도도 초절바 제절 출로 사들로 돈에 도라냐 라바다라 라브게 정가나마요 어디제 겐들로야 자사로 도제자제들라로나 Baba Mila Chijaka Boba, Pamotoba, Javan, Tongba, Kajulama so and the Omichi in Japorane, as a Sajagan Yamoni, Rasenchoko, Mosum of the Savila Major Lago, and there was some Ajala Chujan Chain, Jasome or Javajila, so simply know that you're the Lachina, about Chujan and the so. Oh, Jacob so you what you get doing about summer, actually the lecture, someone Jarson, yes, about the bondo. The carnage, Sanchuk Chamber, Sanchuk Chen, you know, that is your Lord, the Samsung Chana, that you gave me by China, the painting, some nobody chucked your. That the one of the Chagong or Chadre, the Sanchuk Semji, they look Shinatin was a young day of Nigeria, the Dario Mare.
So Tashitele to all Dhamma friends and the Sangha in the various countries around the world. and very happy to have seen you all now. And also that is due to the power of the bodhicitta. Through bodhicitta, once the self-cherishing mind is cleared away, self and other become indivisible. We become same, like equal. And when there is a self, then we become like ice blocks. But if one understands the nature of bodhicitta, it is like we are really together. Actually, we are beyond meeting and parting. So today in the Songs of Milarepa, we speak about the view, meditation, and conduct. And there is a view, meditation, and conduct in general for all the Buddha's teachings. Within Buddhism, there's a certain view, meditation, and conduct. And actually, everything follows a view, meditation, and conduct. You also have that in a worldly sense. There's a view, a practice, and a conduct. And in a worldly sense, beings in this life can perceive this duality of self and other, and a duality of happiness and suffering, and attachment and aversion, and so forth. And so their view, practice, and conduct follows this dualistic view. So the view explained here by J.T. Milarepa is the view according to the Holy Dharma. So he says, grant your blessings that I may naturally abide in accord with the Lord Guru's view, meditation, and conduct. So when the Guru's view of meditation and conduct is that actually within the natural state of one's own mind, the view, the meditation, and the conduct, or the view, practice, and conduct are naturally complete within that nature. In Dzogchen, it is referred to as the original purity, or the Buddha himself had said, all sentient beings are actually Buddhas. So when you know the nature of the mind that is completely pure, then within this natural, pure state of the mind, the view, the practice, and the conduct are naturally complete. So it is naturally, so it says here, may I naturally abide in accord, and so forth. So it is not altered, it is naturally complete, actually within our own mind. And sentient beings who have not realized that have their own worldly views that are biased, views of jealousy and so on. And continuously, they are sustaining that view. and day and night they are practicing in accordance to that. And then that also is reflected in their activities. And then in their activities, they take the victory at the cost of other people's loss. So this is how it is when we follow samsaric worldly activities, the worldly view, practice, and conduct. So here, turning away from this worldly view, practice, and conduct, Milarepa introduces to the naturally abiding view, the Lord Guru's view, meditation, and conduct.
Somebody get it at the Pinsu, daughter, Palan, somebody in the day and reality, charge of Chung Chi Chao, the May Lava, data, Tapaniva data, Chung the somebody in the Chung the river, they come tourism, they didn't tourism at the Dunga or in Jerusalem. 이 성적으로 동네제 동네송 따다는 인체메바 그리 성구요래 로도 남아게 뒤까지 단지 뒤부터와 뒤부터 딱 번째 받아 동네 집에 대 뒤부터 중대래 따뜻한 상 동네에다가 누가 납치 정도는 유무발 납치를 치는 돈을 딜레서 왔지 따뜻한 답을니 제당대로 되는 거다 대저 관절로는 들이처럼 독당 청사들이 비중이 되고 단축과자야 노바도 대장정 상고동들이 자체 급작되는 심지나 이 노바도 탑상을 이제 뒤도 삼지대 전에 직다랑 기부기로를 집에게 상모텔들이 양 삼지대 유마치 어떤 요래 뒤지는 다다 너무 탐지되는 적이부터 와래다 중앙에
So this worldly view, worldly, literally, according to the Tibetan term, means that one is not free from fear and suffering. So worldly beings are not separate from fear and suffering. And that is because of their worldly view. And the root of the worldly view, is this grasping at a self, the true belief in the existence of a self, and then the true belief in the existence of other. And due to that, one accumulates many karmas with attachment and aversion. And so within this worldly view, still there are the temporary states of the higher realms, and then there are the lower realms. So there is a distinction even within the worldly view, and that is because even though it is a worldly view, one still possesses Buddha nature, and by virtue of Buddha nature, at times we do make a slight connection to love and compassion. For example, between companions or friends, we connect to each other with love and compassion. But then the love that we have as worldly beings is extremely subtle. It is very small. It very easily disappears. It never stays. It is too small, too weak. So, but this slight love and compassion that do arise leads to birth in the temporary three higher realms, where we also experience suffering, mainly the suffering of change. And then in the three lower realms, we mainly experience the suffering of suffering. So the four thoughts that turn the mind teach how we endlessly suffer and are always bound to fear in this world. And the fault of that is this worldly view. And so especially nowadays, This worldly view is very powerful. The afflictive emotions become even stronger, so there is even more suffering as a result. With these very powerful afflictions, people accumulate karma, and if they then find a little bit of wealth, they turn that wealth into poison and weapons, and all they think about is making war with each other and hurting and harming each other. Probably nowadays we can say 90% of sentient beings are thinking about hurting others. They have very little love and compassion for others. And so this is why continuously there is so much suffering. So all this suffering in this world comes from this worldly view. So then it says, for this view, there are 3 nails to drive. For this meditation, there are 3 nails to drive. For this conduct, there are 3 nails to drive. For this fruition, there are 3 nails to drive. So it is that first, the worldly view is a view where we believe in the true reality of things. So it is referred to as the view that views the phenomena, the worldly phenomena. And that is a view where we grasp at the true concrete existence. We think that is real. We believe in the true existence of outer appearances and the inner appearances of the mind. Now, so Milarepa Rinpoche had called it that. It is the view of the outer phenomenal world, or the subjective view. And then secondly, there is a view called the view of Dharmakayam, the view of reality itself, where one sees that all of samsara is just like a dream, and that self and other do not inherently exist. And then there is the self-knowing view, and that refers to anyone who has understood the view of Dharmakayam. They become liberated from samsara. When one gives up grasping, one becomes liberated. When one continues to cling, one will continue to wander in samsara, temporarily like an ice block. So for the most part, regarding this view, most people are attached to their worldly views.
추리가 따와가 땅나더니 나시 샘스 주제다더니 니가디 이제 가는 샘이지 샘은 요래지 샘은 요는 강리 오늘 때는 샘은 샘이들이 라도 샘은디도 나시 샘스 주제다더니 나시 샘스들이나 다시 루지기 가해지는 용어네 나시 새끼 가해지는 거네 새끼들이 드라미 받다 저 기타라서 봐 다른 드라미도 망고 요래 대상이 강의 종말이들 선우 적디데 좀 투글 에다 박차가 종말이 좀 투글 에다 박차 가르래지는 그러다가 빼는 것은 약합 소속의 미나 그 약합 그러면 나 알고 미 나 보고 미 라는 로바디 용되더니 나시 용 선생들이 차용 거래 there's no Jackie Namji, which is Chapel, Jim Tungle as a Pachago dropping your age. Now, you send the Gaza, Gestingle, the Hoatomam, Daji, Nizite, taking watch out, take a lay, Pacha sound, Tale, get a magate, gate, you know, somebody and he lay to get give a lap your age. Three, David Yumuba, Daddy, Yumuba, lay someone, give a lap your age. 개당도 차도들라서 봐라. 무게가 갈지 다 때리들이 무게가 좀 동해 정도를 좀 무게가 제가 동해 정도요래 저기와는 제가 대안 좀 그래서 좀 투를 해다 박차거든요. 좀 저기 책 삼으라서 이 손에 대남이 생기 가자 그스팅이래 다 저기요래 차라라다는 총아들이 더 차랍담 니들이 좀 매버신지 대라서 저기요래 느끼가 다티 당고 강의지도들 다 생기지도 세부 강의지도 다 설설마다 소속의 속차 차와게 적되다 나니 무슨 미치가 생기 적치 종류마다 세부지가 직장이 세부도 나오 여바지게 들이 고갈라 주의들이 다다 잡아도 박차르지들이 갈라 줘 들이 고와줘 들이 고 갈라 줘 위랑서 다 지앙만 발레서 박차사들 뒤박차지 참만 나온 잡아지 동요래 데르티들이 따뜻한 심진 나반 하소서 데르티들이 레드 나반 하소거들이 심진 나반 하소 되게 송송 사지존지가 레드 배시용디 데르송아리 오티는 은이 지도 당고 생그 미즈 들이 미그 단직딘 고와지도 대하고 특제데 스무직디도 소지 하고 다디쯤 죽을 했다 박차 느끼이데 신이 공로 니랑모니 들이면 만원이 느끼니 멋지게 저거 선ung 직디는 남주 생진이라고 저를 또 도관하는 로요래 오 랑샘 쪽에서 저도 때문에는 다시도 때는 나비 이 종이 세든 나고 셈이 다들 대회는 들이들이 나시 셈스되다 저는 가자 기억을 셈다 특히 타세의 셈이 뭐 셈이 받을 적매고 하고는 그 셈부지도 더 라그를 저러다 하고는 들이 나시 셈스되다 송 느끼기가 셈부지와 대과 차고래
And then it says, to explain the three nails of the view, all phenomenal existence is subsumed in the mind. Mind itself is the nature of luminosity, yet it cannot be identified. So all phenomenal existence is subsumed in mind. So the entire outer universe and the inner sentient beings contained within this universe, they are the beings of the 6 realms of samsara, or we say the 3 realms, the desire realm, form realm, and formless realms, and so forth. As all these sentient beings that we can see, they have all created a body. And mainly it was created by the belief that the outer world, that what appears is true. So we have this perception that what appears as the outer world is true, and that all the sentient beings are also truly existing. So when we look at one single sentient being, their body is the microcosm of the outer universe. and their mind is the microcosm of all sentient beings contained. And so it seems that beings are separate, but actually are of the same nature. So according to this view of Dharmata, of the view of reality itself, that is where it says that all phenomenal existence is subsumed within the mind. So the mind itself is the very basis of the entire universe and all sentient beings. Everything arises from the mind, from one's own mind. So then one may wonder that if everything is subsumed within one's own mind, then how does this entire universe, this world, arise, come into existence? And here we have limitless forms of sentient beings. Some are very large, some are very small, as all kinds of sentient beings. It is said that the outer universe, our outer world, is a creation of the collective karma and the collective imprints. So what that means is that, for example, the people of a certain country identify with that country. For example, we say collectively, we say, I'm an American person, or I'm a Tibetan person. So all over the world, everyone identifies with their own country. And so that is a collective perception, or a collective imprint. And so it's this collective imprint that creates the outer universe, the outer world. And then the inner sentient beings are created by their own individual personal karmas that they have accumulated since beginningless time in samsara, and have accumulated due to firmly grasping at the duality of self and other. And so in this way, with this perception, they accumulate karma and accumulate habitual imprints, virtues and non-virtuous imprints. Virtue is even the slightest moment of love and compassion. And non-virtue refers to all the afflictive emotions arising out of self-grasping. For example, anger and jealousy and so forth. We call it non-virtues because from it arises suffering. So the individual sentient beings are created through this individual karma, and the outer universe is created through the collective karma and imprints. So it is said that cause and effect are the natural manifestations of one's moment-to-moment thoughts. So the inner sentient beings appear in so many different ways because they have all created such a great variety of different karma. So some appear as large as a mountain, and some appear as small as an atomic particle. And then there is even beings without a body. So this is the entire universe and all sentient beings. And who has created it all? It's all created by the mind. And due to the various states of mind, life forms and sentient beings appear in so many different ways. And although our bodies, our appearance may be different, some are larger, some are smaller, the mind is one and the same. It's exactly the same. So when that mind is taking birth, there is this sense of a me, an I. And so then due to attachment, this habitual pattern of attachment, one enters the womb and then continues to wander in samsara. And so all of these, this conception of I is there, or these karmic imprints that cause us to take birth in this way, are the karmic imprints that we have accumulated in previous lives, and they all arise from this concept of an I, a me. And so from that arises the great variety of many different sentient beings. So everything arises from this. The outer universe and all sentient beings that we perceive to be as real actually have arisen from the mind. So the mind then has created the people, the human beings, and the people have created this world. So that's something that we can all understand, how the difference now between this personal and the collective karma and habitual imprints, and how it creates the outer universe and inner sentient beings. For example, we can also understand that by looking at our dreams. When we are dreaming, we are creating an entire universe, our dream world, and all the dream sentient beings. And then we move around in our dream cities, those places. And this entire dream is a creation of only one's own mind. So if we think about it very carefully in this way, we can really understand how the entire universe is all created by one's own mind. So that is the meaning of all phenomenal existence is subsumed within the mind. So a single person's mind and the mind of limitless, countless sentient beings is one and the same, has the one and the same essence. Yeah.
Dina, Tata, or Sadi, Milarepa, Tisubare, the quarter of Macho, the Conosalo chapter Yore, Dornate, Nati seems to do dinner, Nati Tita Opena. So, but from a tower, the rang semi, the Zog the Kaka and sent the Chipari Kakarita, they die. No, but youngly to Hotoya, the tower, the drama, the Dungi Chipat youngly, like a palin see me, but I think young sacred dog and Pachati Teta with Chipari. Oh, but from a center around the same Chipari. Some there is no such a Tatanti, same Shibadi, Conte Center must say we just Chipari, say we just Shibadi Dakari, Dewa like Chapa, the middle down. This is when they look young down that they send the Lord out in a pound. Oh, that many days, that's the quarter century Hakuna. Tinicare, now sent the Taji, you worry. They know some younger Tana, they were chocolate.
And so these words by Milarepa is something that we should really think about in very carefully, in great detail. How really are all appearances, all phenomenal existence, how is it all subsumed within our own mind? So we reflect and we think, for example, the mind of a little insect, like an ant, for example. When you think about them, you see, what is the difference between us? Is there a difference between the body or the mind? And so you realize that although we look different physically, our mind actually is one and the same. What we want, what we desire is one and the same. We experience the same feelings of hunger and the suffering of cold, hunger and thirst and heat and cold and so on. And we work day and night like these little ants, carrying back and forth day and night little rocks and pieces of wood and so on. So actually, we are really one and the same. We have the same kind of habitual imprints. We have exactly the same mind. So even though you have millions and billions of little life forms, the basis of the mind, the fundamental nature of the mind really is one and the same. They all are attached to happiness and they all have an aversion against suffering. So when you look at then this nature of mind that is the same over and over again, then you understand it to be same as in like light energy. So those sentient beings that we hold to be so true, so really existing, actually have one and the same mind. And so by reflecting in this way, slowly, you will then really ascertain that point, that all appearances are one's own mind. So then you reflect upon this and habituate to this thought over and over again until it becomes stable.
카시는 독전도 특별하다 배 독자 고도 무슨 통세와는 Say my God, say do man, say going to teach about Kareli. Or that's same with Cheparido. Same with Geta Magi Cheparti. Give us about give to the Taritan same zone Kato Devotel, Gay and Nivo. Could you don't want to this same did something Shua, they are called it. They called it Zota Kato, Gay last of you don't want Chado. The water that to go to your go shit down the Chado Koragati. You can slowly young authority. That is shit on the Jason Dodo, son. This around you done like that, you want Muntijo. Big people, you're the news on them. Didn't really come to about it. You can the Ragatawa, the Jim Talbot of the Chichi, what you did, Chichi, DJ go your age. What that is also the two something in all your money. So long, similar. Dodo did you go it? You did you go it? They don't need it.
So even though they are sentient, they are animals, those sentient beings, they're actually, even within animals, there are great differences. There are some animals, for example, that have a very beautiful voice and a beautiful body, and they are just pleasing to others, and they're peacefully sitting next to the water and so on. And then there's other animals, for example, like poisonous snakes or scorpions that are more of the negative kind. And when we see them, we want to kill them. We don't really want to kill them, but we have, even though we don't want to kill them, we have no choice but to kill them. And so what's the difference between these kinds of animals? The difference lies in their mind, the virtuous and the non-virtuous mind. A virtuous mind is a mind that where there is some love that is present, and so that animal then appears differently. It has a beautiful body color, and is in harmony with all, and everyone likes them. And when we see them, we think they're beautiful and so on. So that is due to their state of mind. So they convey a sense of peace and happiness. And then there's other animals like the scorpion or the snake, who are more manifestations of a negative state of mind, of anger and of jealousy. And they are frightening, and they are not going out during the daytime and so on. So when we look at all of these animals, for example, it's really very beneficial for us when we look at that to recognize the associated afflictive emotion and to really think about it, so that your belief in karma, your trust in karma becomes so strong that no one else's view could shake that up at all, because your trust in karma is so strong. So this is how it has to become. It's not enough if you just say, oh, he said that, or I've heard that, and I understand that. But we also have to really cultivate a real trust by thinking about these things, because this is how things actually really are.
파티는 세고 이제 그런데 그러시나 혼자 세는 가서 생기 쪽발에라 말했대나 다 세무 쳤대요 생지바 이제데 다 심이 살아간다 심이 살아간다 너 소주 세무 쳤대나 그는 남도 적장 매번 세들 sem고 동바라 동바랑지 사와사랑지 동바 무슨 매바 따따다 라면 생고대로 상송극까지 답변을 하고는 다 세무들이 이제 생기게 따버리 변나고 로데 따면 답변을 로시레만 보여 로데 즉마도 문제사요 말이 대양들이 요민 타지를 잡아리 요든 진짜 매봐 매대 양 동양 안 매봐 오만도 베티다 다른 게 생기대로 하고 다 생기게 즉발에 다 주는 들이 생기 싸우는데 다소.
And so then we should really reflect on this basis of mind. Our mind and their mind, is it the same or not? So when you look at your own mind, you see the basis of your mind. And so here it says, mind itself is of the nature of luminosity. So when you look at your own mind, a mind that is completely free of all thinking, completely empty, of thinking, there's also clarity. So the nature of this emptiness is clarity, and the nature of clarity is emptiness. It is something that is unidentifiable. When you look at the nature of the mind during a state of vipassana, during a state of special insight, you ascertain that this is the actual fundamental nature of the mind. That is, as it says here, it is luminosity, its nature is luminosity. Or it is just like this luminosity is like light energy that we use in this world. And even though energy performs many different functions in this world, we can really only identify one. There is not many. And even that one light energy is beyond existence and non-existence. We cannot say that it exists because we cannot grasp it. But then also we cannot say that it doesn't exist because it performs all of these functions. So that is the middle way. That is the nature of the mind. So by looking at the nature of your mind, what you recognize is that the fundamental nature of mind, the basis of mind, of myself and all beings is really one and the same. So mind itself is the nature of luminosity.
Kela nguzongwe badason, ma semji sarva ngala da, kela nguzongwe badason na, o ta semte de nguzong che guna, ngani sheji yamari, tokchu yamari, loy yamari, takpare de na, nguzonga yamari, chepare de na sawari pene, tel sa tong yite takche yite jongtang chawaji, tong kawa de na teli. 양을 요만 지고래 양을 매발 지고 딱 맞이는 되니 늦지 요 말이지 폴체미라 다 진지지 요 늦지 요 말이지 누가 매발 생콘 라시라 라고 때리는 되니 사서 가고 무슨 매발이 기양 비밀 라드출라 돼서 이 사치는 좀 라지 그 셈을 셈 때는 되니 셈을 때리는 사람이 요래 대랑가 하고 마도 들이 인셔야 요마이 들이 딱지니 탈레다 왜야지 들이 서로부터와 탐지를 딱지니 중요해 그렇게 딱 왔다와 제발 나와서 딱지니 중저와 강의들 딱고 타던 저와 나파도 왔다와 제발 쪽다 저 우사를 진지 들이 뒤대로 들이 대화치 뭐요래 죽게 대화치 뭐서 이 세불 하시고네 딱 동성 여기 왜 많이 나삼 제메서 시합도 팔아서 뭐는 그래서 어떤 센서도 유도 말어 딱 대리스는 생각 내력대 하고는 대사를 다티 센트 나빠다 버서 니요 말이 대하고 말이 저런 거 좀 해봤다서
And so it is the nature of luminosity, and yet it cannot be identified. So it is unidentifiable. What that means is that if when you recognize the nature of the mind, you know it, but it cannot be expressed. You cannot express it in words. You cannot even conceive of it in your mind. It is not an object of the intellect. It is there, but you cannot grasp at it. So it is free from both faults of eternalism or nihilism, or existence and non-existence. It is, when you look at the nature of the mind, when you meditate and look at the nature of the mind, there is something that you realize, and yet you cannot identify it. So when we use our conceptual mind, the conceptual mind wants to either say that something is true or exists, or something that doesn't exist. So the conceptual mind works in this affirming or negating way. But the actual nature of the mind is beyond that. It can neither be affirmed nor negated. So that is the meaning of it cannot be identified. It is only something you can know by looking at the nature of your mind yourself. And so at a moment of special insight, of vipassana, when you look at your mind, you gain the experience of your true nature that cannot be expressed or identified in any way. In the Mahamudra teachings, it is said, without a single thought, look decisively at the ultimate nature. So look at the nature of the mind. Mind is looking at itself. And when mind is looking at itself, there is this complete clarity there. You know your true nature, but you cannot express it to others. And so this nature is free from the extremes of eternalism and nihilism. And so that is actually a fault that arises in all the worldly views. Worldly views either grasp at eternalism or nihilism, some at eternalism, some at nihilism. But the nature of the mind is beyond that. It is beyond the extreme of eternalism because it is empty like space. And it also does not possess the fault of nihilism because its nature is luminosity. And when you abide within this nature is great bliss. It is called the great bliss Dharmakayam. So this is the nature of the mind that is clear and empty. It is inexpressible in words and thoughts. It is the perfection of wisdom. So in brief, when you realize the nature of your mind, what you realize is a space-like non-dual nature. But that is to be recognized. And yet in this nature, it says, cannot be identified.
Oh, that's same wrong me, but Nasan, you the me body. Ragacha Hako song, that's same Hako song. That the Hako, the good chocolate on my, that eating unible Congo, Gompa, my Gompa is so. That Gomja del Kari, Sangu Nero Rashi, Jima, Rangu Sangu Nero, Raga Hako, Yore. The Hako, that their Congo, their Congo, the Gomba is some shit another. Gomba is just yours. Namto Chiche, Chupo, the Repasa demand the Mati Jambarika was the so. Tata, for day you are Kaka so Jason, some crown Saji, Jeta, the new regular Saji, the Martin, 7 days of the half course of Sana, Terry Jason Sana, 3 take lays of your money. Tata, Namto Chichikarasa, Saji, Siji, Namto Chirios. Number top at the Tati, give us a big top at Amabo Shaki or a dinary. Tati Namto, Mugo and Simadi, or Tiri, Timari, Yamari, Yamari, Tessom, Tess of Jim Namto Shalom, the Telesi, sent to try dog, try the Yama, did the Toa take a cemetery, Chot Taman, and did not allow and Jetty, Toa Kati, Yana, they said the Dragon Yore. Tea Maiba, the sense of the Namto Karsha territory, Debayam, Matibayam Mati, that is sense of the Tiran so song dinner, Tiran so song dinner, that is the Namto Shatet and Namto Chukotor that day. We need to Namto Kang Severan, Paksha, Church ceremony, Sharon Sim ceremony, Sharon the Chota Labna Union, Namto the same Kakabaris, Jato the Lavi Chuba, so Yamapata Yang the song, Sanish Martin Koso. Oh, not to go not to my young, not to come to my jokes. Not to carry. Tata, not all Dewa, the mayor, Dewa, not all the mayor, not all it. God, Dewa to the Charlie Shin, not the Argo. The way to the Mazuva, that it is Chadam, one Simaji, they take the Tapachalapasa, Didi, take the Sepulchre Tumbo or a bella. Oh. Dewa Jumata, the mere Jumata, Kikamadi, Yagan, there is the death of your ministry, not to chucker for the awesome. Chukadina, same Yakran Chukared, Chukaganipa, lap Chartam, the Betty energy, not to Pai Yayana, you be the Shivasawati. Not all of the dead, not to Chuka Torso, Torton, the silver Toamica, Sepulu de Madon Chung, Damgoy, Choati, that Damgoy, this our Hako, Bomja the day or the kitchen for your head.
So it cannot be identified because it is inexpressible beyond words and beyond thought. So you look at your mind, mind looks at itself and you recognize mind. But that itself is also not enough. Once you have recognized your mind, you also have to habituate to it. So it is said that it is not about meditation, so per se, but it is about habituation. That is meditation. So first you recognize the natural state of your mind, but then you have to habituate the sustaining of this nature. So then next it says, to explain the 3 nails of meditation. Concepts are liberated as Dharmakayam. Clear awareness is the nature of bliss. Resting uncontrived is equipoise. So concepts are liberated as Dharmakaya first. So now samsara and nirvana, who has created all of that? It is all created by the mind. It is that if you recognize this mind, you are a Buddha, and not recognizing it, you are a sentient being wandering in samsara. So that is what needs to be recognized, the nature of your mind with complete certainty, with complete trust. And then thoughts become liberated as the Dharmakayam. So the difference between Buddhas and sentient beings lies only in the concepts that we have in the mind, the thinking, the virtues and the non-virtuous thoughts arising in our mind. Now, normally we hold on to these thoughts, we fixate on their true reality, and we think that this is how it is, this is not how it is. So either it is or it isn't, or we have doubts about things. And so it is these thoughts that create feelings which then remain within our mind stream. And once these feelings are present in the mind, then it is like you're pouring ink into pure, clean water. So the more you pour in, the more obscured it becomes. So the more these feelings then remain, the more the mind becomes unclear and obscured. Therefore, when you meditate, do not grasp at anything whatsoever. Do not believe in the truth of things, and also do not grasp at the untruth of things. Just stay in a natural state without grasping at anything whatsoever. Hold awareness with stability. And then whatever thoughts may arise within the mind, all the thoughts that arise within the mind are liberated as the Dharmakayam. So then you recognize that actually all these thoughts are the natural, like the self-light or the projection of the mind itself. They arise from the mind and dissolve back into the mind, just like waves dissolving back into the water. So then you realize that these thoughts and the mind are actually not separate things. There's also another instruction by Milarepa to Barda Bum that speaks to that. You can also later read about that more. But here, the most important point is that do not hold on to the thoughts arising in your mind. Let them be, and then they cannot affect you in any way. So these thoughts, there are various kinds of thoughts. When we experience happiness, we are overjoyed, that's just a thought. Suffering is also just a thought. And with the thinking mind, we become attached to even just the slightest happiness. We think that I want to be happy, and I cannot bear even the slightest difficulty. And so then these thoughts of attachment and aversion and our true belief in it solidify and create deeper imprints. So then this fixation to the true existence, our belief in the true existence of what is in our mind is like dissolving into our mind. So then this is what we become. We melt with it. So actually happiness or bliss is an illusion, and also suffering is an illusion. And if you do not grasp at anything whatsoever and let it all be, then nothing that arises can obscure your mind. So concepts in this way are liberated as the Dharmakayam. And the Dharmakayam is the basis of your mind. And then within this Dharmakayam, whatever arises just like waves on water, arising from the water and dissolving back into the water. So if you just let the thoughts be, they will naturally dissipate, just like these waves on water. And they become liberated as Dharmakayam through the power of seeing with clear awareness. Then the thoughts are liberated, and liberation means that no feeling remains within the mind. And then the mind is in a state of ease, of rest. When the thought is not liberated, then a feeling remains within the mind. When a feeling remains, a thought is not liberated, and that feeling will continue to tie you down. So that is a point that you have to understand very clearly. And especially when it comes to meditation, this is an important point to understand.
Rikpa sarva nyo chikpa sarva tigala te sarva tigala rikpa ni chik kare re dina namto zangi kare sharuna lamsang hako gore simtor kare sharna pena te sharuna tigala te namto zangi kare na zambolo da kwa maja ngipa la chung da maja rikpa la chok tab dina te rikpa te nga chok tigala pena rikpa te mechin tawa yin te deki tiri chakrung tangchira anji shadro pena ko 나또 초반에 나또 좀 탐조에 데이터가 리파스타지는 다송 리파티 그 뉴모바 하고 뉴모바티 판진선 따르까지 속청조래 리파티 속청소 들이 리파티를 다 초바 양물 대화를 차를 더 차발인 저래 양물 동의를 당내 양 동의는 저래 들이 때문에 로마티를 떠먹고 들이 로마 싸움해봐 너는 나도 초와도 셈들 리파티가 싸우 르게 되게 리파라고 요래 싸워도 좋래 뒤에들이 다들이 맞들이 리파사딩하는 다는 나도 직접 차대 마데르들이 리파서 싸우 되어들이 범싸우 약고에 자꾸 요래 걔네들이 적진기 짜치 모습이 싫어가 속 마셔와 싫어가 속 마셔와 나도 그 왕도 마셔와 제 가르치고래 다다한들이 제대로 유모 왕도 마셔나 스마레롱 거 왕도 마셔들이 니송 동서고요 말이 니송을 레롱 집어든 유모 왕도 손은 들이 남시대 들까 지지린 참들이 내니 발린 거래 그래서 빠싸디디 하죠 자치고래 이 양도 심도로 좀 고알이 검작고 가니 나도 샤도 하고 지금 빠쳐라서 정들이 처음이 봐 베네디 뉴모라 와타지 섹터들이 총총 타지 들아지 섹터에 니 카르티 보존 거리데 빠싸디한테 다송
And then clear awareness is the nature of bliss. There's many of you who have received instructions on Dzogchen, and Dzogchen speaks of Rigpa. And Rigpa and clear awareness here are actually one and the same. There's no difference. So what is Rigpa or is clear awareness? When thoughts arise in your mind, whatever thought arises, whether it is a good thought or a negative thought, all the thoughts that arise are instantly recognized if the mind is clear, and that is Rigpa. So whatever arises in the mind, do not want Rigpa or clear awareness doesn't hold on to a positive thought, and it does not criticize a negative thought. So in meditation, awareness or Rigpa has to be upheld, sustained with stability. And this awareness is like fire that naturally melts the ice block of the thoughts arising in the mind. And when thoughts are melted in this way, they will not leave behind a feeling, and so the thoughts will just subside back into the mind. And so the clear awareness is the nature of bliss. So awareness, or Rigpa means to know. So awareness knows the afflictive emotions. When one holds on to the afflictive emotions and one follows them, then Rigpa, or this awareness, becomes weaker. Then awareness becomes whatever the thought is. For example, if one is attached to pleasure, then this Rigpa, this awareness, becomes attachment. Or if one has an aversion against suffering, then it becomes a suffering, a miserable state. Or if the state of mind is indifferent, like an ignorant state, then awareness, or this Rigpa, becomes unclear, becomes ignorance. So Rigpa, or clear awareness, it means literally to know, to be clear. And so the clarity aspect is most important. And so when there's no grasping at any thought that arises, then imprints will also not remain within the mind. And awareness is upheld with stability. In Dzogchen, there's one very important line, a quote that says, "Do not lose the stability of clear awareness." That's really most important. Most important is do not become controlled by the thinking in your mind, the thoughts arising in your mind. Because if in this life you do not become controlled by your afflictive emotions, by your thoughts, then later after you have died, the karmic winds will not take you. Otherwise, if karmic winds take us, then they take us to birth in the 3 lower realms and so forth. And the karmic winds means that one is controlled by one's own afflictive emotions. One follows them. And if one remains controlled by them, then later after death, the consciousness will follow these negative tendencies and then take on an inferior birth. So what's most important is to sustain Rigpa, to sustain clear awareness. But that is something you should reflect upon. Really keep that in mind over and over again. Really try to understand that. And when it comes to your meditation practice, the most important point is to let be, recognize and let be whatever thought arises within the mind. Then if you do not hold on to it, then no feeling will be generated. And then even the very coarse afflictive emotions are destroyed. And then the more subtle thoughts and afflictions, they naturally collapse. So this is how you have to sustain clarity in your mind. And so it says, clear awareness is the nature of bliss.
Tēji sēn sāo nāptō kāngki hā kōwa de nāptō tājir chōsō na tēri tērē jīpa gōu mā tāmi gōm de yēnā mēnām tēri tēsōm chāmbara gōu mā rī tēri tērā māpki ñāmbari chākwar tāsō māpki pā jīpa tē rāngi sēngu yē nērō ngūne tsāma tēri mā rī yīni tē sāpa mā rī tē ngāmi yūla jīpa mā yī yīni tsāta yōpa mā yī tē rāngi sēngu rāngi nērō wā kōta rāngi nērō ngūne tē tērē tē tēnirāngi māpāng pācchukwa tāwa tētā yu chīchēni tēti tsō tēni gōm chīwa tē māyāngpā tsō rē tē mākīpā tēnā tēpā mēpā shāsuma tēti tēni nāptō chēni lēsā nāptō tsēngi tēnā dē rō pāchā yō ngō rē tē kāyē mākī ñāmbari chākwa tā tē sēn sārō tē nāptō pāchā yō ngō māsō tēni lē gō rē tē.
And then resting uncontrived is equipoise. And so then the mind is clear. You recognize all the thoughts arising in the mind. And when you recognize them, thoughts become liberated. And if they become liberated, there is nothing else that needs to be done. Then you don't have to think of whether or not your meditation is good or not, and you don't have to give rise to all sorts of doubts at all. Just recognize thoughts and liberate thoughts. And so you just rest in an uncontrived state of equipoise. And so this term uncontrived here, it refers to the unaltered, pure, natural state of your own mind. And uncontrived also means that it is an innate quality. It is nothing that has not been there before, and it's nothing that is newly acquired. So it has always been there, this innate, uncontrived state. You just, by looking at it, gain certainty. This is it. This is the nature of my mind. And that experience is like the meeting of a mother and a child, for example. So what's most important when you meditate is to sustain non-distraction of that uncontrived nature. And remaining within this uncontrived nature, with mindfulness, you will not fixate on thoughts. When we are unmindful, then we are following thoughts and we are accumulating karma. Then the thoughts remain within the mind and they are forming more and more habitual imprints. And so rest uncontrived in equipoise. So you rest within the clear, natural state of mind without becoming controlled by whatever thoughts and so forth arise within the mind.
no cha yan tok te chu lam de ka tang ma la de so mo re te ji ji ba yo wa ti ni ro go yo re ti ni de la ti chu ba ze so xie za na so chu ba ze so xie za na de te ji ba yo wa de o ne ti ge chu ba shop le cha so ta wa te yo na tong yi la ko ta tong yi 가리리 나오요와 나지디리 요만 나지디 메파 다지니가 변해서 저바 메와 차들 저랑지 들이 hin제제 요래 돈이 도서 hin제제에서 라지 돈이 hin제 차대요네 이게 좀 소리 차서 이거 쪽감이 참이는 보지 되문어서 진짜 소잡아 Jimbatoma, Domasoma, Debantama, Kopatama, Shatter Trambodama, Donda Tamjuba, to something Jigoba, Churchuba, Terasopasoma, General Givache, get the Rangi to Machulum with the Zambori, Pena, marching a poetry of Sambauna, Trinity poetry of Caribuna Senario Mari, Ubotrigo Senario Mari, there is no Batadu Mari, such a mark of Polity Batality, part of Sabato, Sabatangi. Pete rangi vitri toni vishi hinje betri nuba rangi ke gepti chuba chokla charso ti mete sambo ti sanchok samba shi ba de ti we sen sangje da jin ji lo da yin yi ji sangsong chana ti da yin ji shi ti saba de hinje ji fi lo le bi mo ma to wa ta je la de we ti sang chok ji 다지디로 파산이들이 이게 돈이 생기지 송대라 처우는 이제 정보 별 첫점만 하지 첫점만 이것들이 가리 동바트는 통을 가리 지는 거 봐요. 데이터에 차연 거예요. 이게 쭉 쇼크는 차서.
And so this is the view to understand and to sustain then throughout all one's activities. So all of our activities are performed on the basis of such a view. Yesterday, Milarepa said, whatever you do, whether you're walking, sitting, or lying down, look at your mind. So walking, sitting, or lying down basically refers to all of your activities. In all of your activities, look at your mind. be mindful and aware. So next it says to explain the 3 nails of conduct. The 10 virtues are the natural expression of conduct. So when there is mindfulness, then the 10 virtues become a natural expression of the conduct. So one who has the view has emptiness. The view is also called emptiness. It is a state where there is an absence of an I, a self-cherishing mind. There is no grasping at a duality of self and other. And in such a state, naturally, compassion arises. It is said that when one has realized emptiness, compassion arises. The nature of this emptiness is compassion. So the 10 virtues are the natural expression of conduct. What are those 10 virtues? It is, for example, explained in Kamachangma's aspiration prayer of Sukhavati. He goes through like the opposites of the non-virtuous actions, such as being generous, speaking the truth, being honest, having a peaceful and subdued behavior, and speaking meaningfully, cultivating love and compassion, and so forth. So the 10 virtuous qualities that make one a good person. For example, between a mother and her only child, there is great love. The mother loves her child, and she will provide anything that the child needs without any stinginess. And the mother will not do anything that will hurt her child, and that is ethical discipline. So a mother's care for her child actually perfectly completes the 6 parameters. So that's an example. And so when one has realized emptiness, compassion naturally arises. And so from that, the 10 virtuous actions are naturally practiced. One becomes a good person, a bodhisattva, in whose mind all dualistic grasping to self and other is cleared away. And love and compassion and altruism for unrealized sentient beings has arisen in their mind. So a bodhisattva is a Changchup Senpa, and Changchup means Chang is to purify. And what is purified is the self-cherishing mind. Chup, the second syllable, means to like master. And what has been mastered in one's mind is a mind of emptiness and compassion. So such a person's mind becomes like completely pure water. If the water is completely pure, you can use it for anything. You can wash your face, you can drink it, and so on. There is no harm, no matter in which way you use it. So the 10 virtues are the natural expression of conduct.
다디 집을 라지를 차가요고 다디 파욕터나 이 먹이 어쩌더라 이거 먹이 어쩌더라로 인성 이 방고고요 라기 능도배가 차도요 이 딕터랑이 내서 다서.
And then the 10 non-virtues are naturally pure in their own place. So when self-grasping, so the 10 non-virtuous actions are naturally complete within self-grasping. And so when you only let go of self-grasping, then naturally there are no more 10 non-virtuous actions because they are the natural expression of self-grasping. So actually, when there's no more self-grasping, you're not even thinking of, there's no need to think of abandoning the 10 non-virtuous actions, then you will naturally not want to engage in these 10 non-virtuous actions.
Dawa to tenitera gomba kon te gomba de tagom joba songre chene ta tinjeva karere tinjeva de tato karere tato sanje gomba nure jeva jesan chesana aso.
So then When you have realized that view and habituated that meditation, so when you have this union of view, meditation, and conduct, then what is the result of that, the fruition? The fruition is to attain the ultimate state of enlightenment. So it says to explain the 3 nails of fruition. And nirvana is not established as being somewhere else. So when you meditate and you look at your mind and you wonder, when will I see the Buddha? Actually, your own mind is the Buddha, your own mind itself. So there is no Buddha to be sought anywhere else. So nirvana is not established as being somewhere else. And then samsara is not abandoned for somewhere else. Now, so samsara is the grasping of self and other, grasping at the true existence of self and other. And once that once there's no more grasping at the existence of self and other, there is no need to abandon samsara. And so the mind itself is Buddha nature, and within that we create this idea of a self. So we think that there's me and there is others, and then through that we create thoughts of attachment and aversion, and we accumulate habitual imprints within our mind. So when one realizes that the natural state of the mind as it is without self and other, then there is no need to separately abandon samsara. Because what is samsara? Samsara should be understood to be self-grasping. The root of samsara is self-grasping. And the antidote to self-grasping we learn already when we first enter the Dharma. It is to train in immeasurable love and compassion. When immeasurable love has arisen in your mind, then the self will disappear. And then the mind as it is already is Buddha. The Buddha had said, all beings are actually Buddhas. They are only obscured by adventitious stains. So we are grasping at a self that doesn't actually exist. There is no real self. Within the mind, there is no self, and there's also no other. It is just because we have a body that we think that that's me and that's him and so on. And so due to that perception, we develop many thoughts in our mind, many thoughts of attachment and aversion, and we hold all of these to be true. And this grasping at truth is what causes the mind to become like an ice block. So actually, samsara is not abandoned for somewhere else.
Ransin Sanje to Lotacho, so in Ransin Sanje, I was over Sanje, all dancing no bosom to so you get the Sanje, you didn't tell it, Tamje some of them not carried to Kitam. Better than so Lama Gishi Tamsin, Sanje no Mamu. You want to take Sanje, you did come to somebody, young Namkara for Sour the Debari. Down around the same Sanje. This Sanje, you did same metal sound or territory, the Kiachera Mangoratory, and Quanta Mato, what the Sanje, you did young government. Tata didn't number the one now on the Debari. They the Rana Soto, the Sanje, Sang, Daji, Medok, Daji, Medok, the Lota Chuna, that is Sanjori. Jade, the Kitchen, tell us several same certain. But I'm going to set the Naka Chevy, but oh, send Naka Chadi or it. They charted the carriage. Tanapto, they don't rather Tamchi carriage. Near Tamchility, Mukota Simon the Bay, Simambea. There's a Huru Changori, Dumira, Shiramataba. Dewa Shirama, get on the Jumata Hakon, Humbo Hakon. Three Kali, Sanji Yonji Kali, Tata Mo Sanji Kali, or Daji Yidi Tasman, some Sarton, the Pata, Kitty Josaji, the Tika, Musiti, Sanji, Tata, Happy, Dabati Youth and so on. Sanji, she was the Kitty Josanji, Kitty Sebraji, Tata Sanji Salero, Tata Yan, and called the Tribaki said the Udoremini, Penanapa Train, Danger. Naka tree, 2 minutes in Nakanima Lamsi, Tongo, then it was on Koan, Uposi Martin, then not all the Dormini. Simple, yet it's Haji beyond the 3 Rasis Hajis of Lota chose.
Then I have determined that my own mind is Buddha. So one's own mind to be Buddha. So we might think of a Buddha as someone like this magnificent being who possesses all these qualities like the 10 powers and the 32 major and the 80 minor marks and all of these enlightened activities and qualities and so on. And so then you may think that, what do I have? I have none of those qualities, so how am I the Buddha? But we can see, for example, many spiritual masters, many gurus really are just like Buddhas. And how they are just like Buddhas is they have this quality within their minds. So being a Buddha doesn't mean that one performs various miracles like flying in the sky and moving through matter and so on. But it's the mind. The mind has to become enlightened. And it happens gradually over the course of many lifetimes. A seed is growing into a flower. And the Buddhas will continue to appear until no more sentient beings are left, until the end of samsara. So the Buddhas are not identified as something that flies like an airplane in the sky and so on, but it's something to be recognized within one's own mind. One's own mind has to become enlightened, and the mind becomes awakened when it doesn't grasp at the duality of self and other. When you really gain certainty in that there are no self and other, then you have cleared away duality. So Sangye, right, means Buddha, and Sang is to have cleared away. You have awoken when you have cleared away dualistic grasping. And Ye, the second syllable, means vast. So then when you look at that mind in your meditation, it is vast, like space. Then there is no more difference between mind and space. And then when the mind becomes like that, then there is no more clinging fixation to any thought, to happiness, to suffering, anything that needs to be done or given up. There is no grasping at the true existence of anything. So the mind begins to become calm, relaxed. And then there is not so much fear and towards suffering. And then there's also not so much attachment to pleasure. because one has understood that everything that appears is like an illusion and has no essence. So it slowly becomes that way. So the actual Buddha is when you have purified the grasping at a duality of self and other. The mind then becomes clear and empty, like space. So in the Manjushri Namasamgiti, it is said, one is enlightened in an instant. In this one moment, you exactly arrive at the state of awakening. You see awakening. So it says, he's enlightened in an instant. In an instant, you are awakened, and in the next moment, you are confused in samsara. So then again, in the next moment, the mind becomes obscured by thinking. But in that moment where there is no grasping at the mind, you do glimpse awakening, just like when the clouds in the sky are gone for a moment, you gain a glimpse of the sun. For just a moment, you see the sun, and then the clouds come again. So then that's the only difference. It is just that this nature is obscured by the fixation to whatever appears to us by the thinking mind. But actually, all of these enlightened and awakened qualities are already present within our mind. It is just that they are currently obscured.
There's a non-executive, there's a chini tomba there, the we lama taben, the man the cura tapmanger, rake it on tepai. Church number general, good number young channel long, table number to get also. The lama mood, which in it, he was so wanted to lead out of that. Starting musing or the touch was the young man. And sometimes the line of the woman on the child. The lama, Tamsi Lama, got the Lama, the Lama sent the double year. Lama to send the Karina. Chip, Sabat Semili, yeah. Needed to be Lama said the now send you drink to Bari, send you some sitting as a to Bari, half of the Sunday. To go job at the like a tree, the Lama sent it. Lama Semda, Lama Samni Jeda, Lama Kishida, not Kishipari, Lama Yang on the Muchina, then Tom Gomjadi, Tom the Toa the Genitally, running a touch of Tiri, so touch of the way. That tea, to eat the song, the Gom Jap, the least in Nuji, the Lama Muichi of Wachina. The Lama to the Lama Ticket do go, Lama Jusan, Lama to the same ticket. Sanjay Tamji said the Lama do, Lama Tamji said the Lama Ticket do, Lama Tick the same to the Lama Sendi, Jupari, the Pena Kabagi, the Lote, Jupari, the Quacha, the Joran, the 7 piece, in his own, they're going into whatever. Sometimes I'm glad on the much of touch of that. Did it have to be done? Chini Tongo Zé, song, the Tebiore, song. The that's the lecture number.
Then from among 3 nails, there is a single nail to drive. That nail is the nail of Dharmata's emptiness. The nailing is done by a noble guru. If you analyze too much, it won't be driven in. Co-emergent realization will drive it in. This wealth is shared by Dharma practitioners. Arose in the mind of this yogi here. May all of you students be pleased. So this verse is speaking about guru devotion. And so first, when you meditate, you might recognize the clear and empty nature of the mind. But still, even though we see that sometimes we have not completely decided upon it. We have not gained complete certainty in it. So sometimes it arises, but then we still have some doubts about it and we wonder, is it or not? And so therefore we follow the guru. And when we follow the guru, we should not hold on to the guru's body, but we should hold on to the guru's mind. And what is all the guru's mind? It is immeasurable love. Number one, it is immeasurable love. And secondly, the guru's mental continuum and your own mental continuum, and actually the mental continuum of all sentient beings is one and the same. So that needs to be understood when you meditate. Then you recognize your own mindfulness during meditation. That is the guru. So the guru's mind, the guru's love and compassion, the guru's mindfulness, and my own are one and the same. So in this way, you develop devotion again and again. And from within such a state of devotion, when you then stay in a state of meditation, sometimes it happens that all of a sudden this feeling arises. And you feel that this is it. This is the nature of the mind. You just know it in that moment. And this is where the mind of the guru and your own mind merge. So when you meditate in this way, then the guru possesses great compassion for sentient beings, and you cultivate great devotion to the guru. And so through this coming together, compassion and devotion, then the minds merge. And so the mind of the guru, within a single guru, all the gurus are complete. So don't think that your guru, it's just your guru separate from the other gurus. But it is said that the mind of all the Buddhas is within all the gurus, and all the gurus are within one guru. And that one guru, that the mind of that guru, which is the mind of all the gurus, is your own mind. It is just like having two phones that are powered by the same electricity, the same energy. So mainly the guru is your mindfulness, and you recognize it sometimes in an instant when you meditate. So you habituate to that. You meditate for a long time until one day you come to this complete certainty that this is what it is. And then this is when that nail of the Dharmata's emptiness is driven in. So Madam, friends, Dashi Delek for today.
Tata Zabelina, Kangichibo Yori, the Saji Sabtu Sung Yori, Nature Kaban, Sunja Kaban, Mugika Tela, Jojo Sung Yori, Kayasin, Zabeling safety tabs, you can know by the children, Mando top children, Sabata Hindi, shock to the door, the community, the town Jojo Song. La paper chat that the Dosa Chintin Bochi, Saji Chakatapa, and Singa, the Tab the Mabotora Yapoyo song. The Tata Saji, Justin Saji Tabjetari, took you to the Saji Chakatabari. You call it the Monachimo Datam, Tata Kapa, the Durkapo, Saji Jing, Durkapo, the Chakataba, the Commodore, the Tudavia, the Saji Chakatan Singadi, the Tamani, Dona, the Laptimbori, Saji Tamchi, the Saji Chakataban, the Uyori, the Kong Sajitiba, Hadakari Chimori, Don Sanchi, Mojita, Javakanjo Chimbo, the Insolent Tata, Sajitibala, the Sajilana Meva Kong Kadin Chimbori, the end of your song, the Chibori, the Tamaki Saji Chakatan Singadi, Chichapan, the one of the Shandu Kari, the Kosa Saji Chakatabar, the Violin Mambo, the Yakondo, the Chudo Tamatagella, I'm just the election. There's a daddy for Battle Shokaba. There is the Amadeus of the Shumi Tagarin, Tapani Garden Che, the Dodger Buchi, Udamaya, to your chase.
I mean, so nowadays in this world is going through a lot of difficulties. And actually, it was foretold by the Buddha. The Buddha spoke about there being an age of disease, an age of weapons, and an age of famine. And it happens just as the Buddha has predicted. And how does it happen? Why does it happen? It is because in this world, the afflictive emotions of sentient beings are on the rise. They become, the afflictive emotions become increasingly strong and powerful. And love and compassion decline more and more. It declines more and more in the minds of sentient beings. And there's actually a practice that can be of benefit with that. And it was advised by Tsongtse Khyentse Rinpoche, who said that we should recite many of the Buddha Shakyamuni's name mantras. So I encourage you all to do that, because now the Buddha Shakyamuni is first the embodiment of all the enlightened mind of all the Buddhas of the 3 times, but he appeared specifically in this time, having made 500 great aspirations. He appeared at this time, which is a time where sentient beings are very difficult to tame. And in fact, other Buddhas were unable to tame the sentient beings of our time. So the Buddha Shakyamuni took it on, and he accepted that he will be the one taming the sentient beings of this age. So therefore, to recollect the Buddha Shakyamuni and to recite his name mantra is a very, very powerful activity, especially during these days. And all the Buddhas are actually contained, complete within the Buddha Shakyamuni. And also what Tsongtse Khyentse Rinpoche is doing for the Buddha's teachings is really incredible. He is very kind to the Buddha's teachings and to people. For example, he is having the Buddha's words all being translated into English. It really is an unsurpassed service to the Buddha's teachings, and he is extremely kind because these teachings are really so precious. So the Buddha Shakyamuni really is our common Buddha, whether we are followers from the East or from the West. So therefore, I think it would be good if we all would make this kind of group or common effort to recite the Buddha Shakyamuni mantra many times. So again, my Dharma friends, I'm Dashi Delek, and I would also like to thank you all for joining the Dewa 100 Million Mantra Recitation Retreat. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I also would like to thank Dorthin Rinpoche, who has presided over this retreat. And see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Garchen Rinpoche, for your immeasurable love for us and also your precious teachings. Thank you so much. Before we close off this session, we would like to invite our resident teacher, Dorthin Dondrut Rinpoche, to say a few words. And Ina, could you also kindly help to translate this? Dorthin Rinpoche, over to you.
Rinpoche Takidele Sha Tani Rinpoche Amadewa Tongrip Chimi Wole Yokshin Tani Tedinja Lomana Tani Chujun Kolo Lamton Jachimbo Nawala Tani Nying Tabane Kadin Lamid Che Shuchatang Tani Rinpoche Tuji Kadin Latine Tani Takap Amadewa Tongrip Chimo Tingchibanda Hajang Gepe Yabo Chongsong Shayin Tani Mao Ban Jungjula Jo Zambelin Sinchi Jinro Yongtang Youngis Rinpoche Latini Rekatipa Tani Datang Rinpoche Lomarchipa Tamji Chid Tani Kutse Shape Yonde Tinshin Tani Chujung Kolo Jum Chepatani Lamtona Yurochi Shendini Sowa Ning Tapan in the Win.
Thank you.
Dosi Rinpoche, Rahidele Fujiche, Ta, Amadeo.
So first, Rinpoche for joining, presiding over the Dewa 100 Million Mantra Recitation Retreat every year. So also for teaching the faithful disciples the Dharma in such a vast way and turning the wheel of Dharma in such a vast way. I would like to first thank him from the bottom of my heart. And it is really due to Rinpoche's compassion, blessings, and kindness that again, and this year, the 10th 100 million mantra recitation retreat of Amitabha has been accomplished perfectly. And also, I would like to extend my supplication to Rinpoche to remain in future times in general for the sake of all the sentient beings in this world, and then in particular for all of us, the faithful, loving disciples of Rinpoche. So for all of our sake, I supplicate you again and again from the bottom of my heart to live a long life and to continue again and again to turn the wheel of Dharma. And so then Garchen Rinpoche said, thank you. The Amitabha 100 million mantra recitation retreat is really inconceivable. And I'm so grateful to you, to Garchen Rinpoche, and to all the disciples. And again, I say Dashi Deleg and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both Rinpoches. And now we'd like to invite our resident teacher of Driga Trupten Dargay Ling, Dozin Dronjit Rinpoche, who has been presiding over the retreat, as well as Driga Trupten Dargay Ling's president, Ning, to now represent all the committee members to offer kata and flowers to Garchen Rinpoche.
Rinpoche la kata tani meto begins anda dozin Rinpoche tani choto ki tsokso yorabani toni da angraki kata tani
ya lose tashi de ya 谢谢
And because of now, we will be taking it, we'll be putting it virtually on the throne of Garchen Rinpoche, and to put the kata as well as the flowers on the throne of Garchen Rinpoche at Driga Trupten Dargay Ling Center. And also on behalf of the organizing committee of Driga Trupten Dargay Ling of this retreat, as well as all the students across Asia and all other students around the world, we have about 37 countries of people who actually joined the Garchen Rinpoche teachings in the past few days. And on behalf of all of them, we really thank Garchen Rinpoche very, very much for his patience, for his guidance, for his compassion towards us, and of course for his precious teachings. Garchen Rinpoche has always been very concerned about the well-beings of the Asian students and also the progress of our Dharma learning. So even though we are always at different continents, he frequently asks our resident teacher, Dozin Dronjit Rinpoche, about the students in Asia and our progress. And upon receiving the invitation to teach, His Eminence Garchen Rinpoche immediately agreed without hesitation to personally chose and to agree to come to the teachings of the 100 Dewa recitation retreat. He personally chose the teachings of the songs of Milarepa for us. With that, he also had many discussions with Dozin Dronjit Rinpoche on the teaching content, on how the online retreat is being conducted, etc., etc. So, and Rinpoche, Garchen Rinpoche even adjusted his regular schedule. So he's now taking his dinner earlier so that he can give us the precious teaching at 8 o'clock early in the morning, Singapore time. This is also to cater to the majority of the Asian time zone. So we really can't thank Garchen Rinpoche enough for his kindness, his compassion, and his teachings towards us, Rinpoche. We wish Rinpoche long life, good health, and we hope Rinpoche to continue to turn the wheel of the Dharma. Ina, could you please help us to translate that to Garchen Rinpoche?
Tini tanda poet Rinpoche. Ami Dewa Dondro tanda pe amasa yakor chung song. Tini tanda tini Rinpoche tini gyakap somchu sabdun ne konsumi nyam do show yoris. Tini Rinpoche so di kache ta chembo nayala ninche chembo. Tini ngso zuba chembo yang Gone tini ngso kache cha chembo naya la ning thapa ne tudi che shue yus tini ta Rinpoche tapa ngso sharso ki loma den sola be dan disam sam mambo samgitangi yora ba ngso kan la gore tukur nang yore pe tapa samgi yore ngso tini te tapa ngaran so chu nyam nang khanda yong yore Rinpoche tapa kantinang yusare teni tangaran so satharing bo yore teni yurtunil kalang so degi yore yinan takpa Rinpoche ta dochen dono Rinpoche ta shaso kilo ma khanda da bodo tapa Rinpoche kecha jigidos teni tanang so Garchen Rinpoche dalo Singapore la Garchen nayala angso tendin shu to teni Rinpoche lamsang kilen song teni Milarepa ki gor gora songi yin Rinpoche khongri ki thak chi yores teni dozen dono Rinpoche nyamdo teni kachigola teni dole mambo nang yoris tana ngaso talo ngaso dawa ge thola ngaso jerim khana chogo yemati gola dole be mambo nang yoris teni namgye Rinpoche gong tis ngache chego yoraba teni ta ngaran chuki cheto gong da gong tis ngun la dawa chuin teni ti chela teni Rinpoche ngaso kachi naya tutse mixer chik te yoris kaisina tanang anso shasola shoke chutse geba go chogo yoraba teni ngso shaso gimi gi tutse samatung gi yoraba teni Rinpoche katin chamburis teni Rinpoche ngso loma chamala katin chambo teni ninche chambo tela ning tapa ne ngso thodi che shue yus teni Rinpoche teni kutse ringbo shue gi menlam yus teni chuten tempo teni chuko samchan tamje gi chedo mun tune koya ki menlang so tame shu yus
ngage ya teri da dorjiru bojo zoe me teri roma la teri sebgu khada tashi dere khala tashi taje re age sebgu prakayo je teri aja top che bore sebgu dere sachok senta de khada je to dere jujur de gura sachok sebju yo tayo ba teri tashi taje tangmi bare je.
And so now Rinpoche says, I'm offering this kadak of the mind to Doten Rinpoche and each and every disciple. I'm offering this kadak of the mind. And the kadak also contains the 8 auspicious symbols, which is an offering of my mind, and which is very powerful because it is a kadak of bodhicitta. And by offering this kadak of bodhicitta, I am placing bodhicitta within everybody's mind stream. So therefore, these 8 auspicious symbols then become inconceivable.
Thank you, Garchen Rinpoche. So we'll receive this kata. Thank you so much. And before we will, we'll now also like to thank many others who actually made this possible. And we especially want to give a shout out to everyone in GBI, to the lamas, to the anis, to Ina, our English translator, Christina, Billy, and many other staff and volunteers from GBI, Garchen Institute, who have worked very hard behind the scenes and to help us with the arrangement. So thank you so much for GBI. Thank you. Thank you.
Lega chinga samala tudi ches tini GBI ki ta mata Garchen chuto Arizona tini so pena lama dawa ani sama tini ina ki jo tini Christina Billy tini ta sama ropa gam kenten so sama ani tapana tudi ches keran so ta lega ya por cheso.
Thank you. I will thank you. Long life.
Yes, thank you, everybody, Sangha. Yes, and also in appreciation, the organizing, the entire retreat will be making offerings to Garchen Rinpoche, to the lamas, to Anis, and also to the English translator for all your help and your services. Thank you.
Tini nga so di Garchen Rinpoche tini Garchen so gi lama ki gyo la so pa tini sama ropa kyam kin sama la nga so tap choba phugi yins ta nga so tanga ta choba phugi yins senda ta.
And also, thank you to all the participating lamas, the translators of the languages, Chinese, Vietnamese, Japanese, Russians, and all the volunteers that have actually made this possible. And thank you very much for your hard work the past few days.
Di lama shemba kashi sho yorwa lama shungken sama teni kikyo sama teni thangla wenken sama latuti che shueres pena kikyo den so pena kya ke yori Vietnam ke yori teni Ruben ke yori Uros ke yori Inchi ke yori the sama latuti ches.
Finally, thank you to all the respective centers, the Dharma centers, for your kind support and your help in one way or another. And also to all the Dharma brothers and sisters who attended the teachings and the recitation retreat. Thank you very much and rejoice for your participation. We have also prepared a thank you video, especially for Garchen Rinpoche, to thank him from the bottom of our hearts and to show our love for him. And just as a background, the music that accompanied the video is actually sung by Garchen Rinpoche himself. The lyrics are "Everybody Sangha How," and "How" is actually in Mandarin. It means like good. Okay, and actually the whole everybody Sangha How meant, Rinpoche meant is that it's a greeting of Tachitele to all the Sangha. Okay, so he actually said it, we recorded it, and one very kind Dharma brother, he stringed it together in a melody and offer it. Okay, so Ina, could you please translate that, and admin, please be on standby to play the video.
Tini tanda yang tini chuchok shemba sama konso ki capture chi tini ropa kya la nin thapa na thuti ches tini chugit ti topo mo chama la nyamso shuya tini thuti ches tini ngso cheso yerang years tini tanda konso Rinpoche katin chi shuya la konso lo nyin chi linchen chi ra tanya chi yins ting ngso Rinpoche ngso nin thapa ne achewa yopa ki taga varis tini ti ngama Rinpoche Singapore peptu sik the Rinpoche chiri ki song everybody sangha how tapa Rinpoche song how senata yakpo ki thanda re tini ta nga so chama Rinpoche ti chedo so da chama yakpo in pala tina ngama china song yo sare tinga so recording da te ti jo yo re ta ko so mix ki lonyen chi so yo re tani ti ana Rinpoche la phugi in nisi phugi
Yo to get she. Thank you. Tam lo ni zong da.
Lo ni zong da. Lo ni.
Zo ma mo ri da o. Mo la sa yang de song ka so. Sangha Ho, Hari Bari Sangha Ho, Abi Bari Sangha Ho. Abi Bari Sangha Ho, Abi Bari Sangha Ho, Hari Bari Sangha Ho, Hari Bari Sangha Ho, Abi Bari Sangha Ho. Sangha thank you. See you tomorrow.
Ashtele Rinpoche, 长寿长寿。
Thank you, Rinpoche, for your teaching, and wish you long life and world peace.
Om Tare Tu Re Mama Hayo Jana Hu Ye Hu Jun Hu Ru So Ha 上次长寿。
Thank you for giving us Dharma teaching during our National Day celebration. We wish you long life and good health forever. Love you.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you, Rinpoche.
リンポチェ、ありがとうございます。
リンポチェ、
リンポチェ、サンキュー。
リンポチェ、ありがとうございます。
リンポチェ、ありがとうございます。リンポチェ、ありがとうございます。
リンポチェ、ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
Thank you, Rinpoche. I love you, Rinpoche. Thank you, Rinpoche. Long life, Rinpoche. Thank you, Rinpoche. Thực thế nào? Thank you, Rinpoche. Long life and good health, Rinpoche. Cảm ơn.
Yes, thank
Merci
you.
de l'aide, Rinpoche.
Yeah, really touched it. And everybody now, please prepare your khata.
Tashidale Rinpoche.
Microphone. Virtually
Long
open
life,
khata.
Rinpoche. Be well.
Arigatou gozaimashita, Rinpoche.
Rinpoche,
Thank you, thank you, thank
you.
you.
Rinpoche lah.
Namo
Rinpoche. Long life,
Thank you.
Love you. Nothing.
Long life.
Long life.
Rinpoche's wishes we fulfill spontaneously, all his
Blessing.
Thank you so much,
Rinpoche.
Love you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
I love Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Long life, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Lama. Thank you, Ali.
Thank
Thank you, everyone.
Stay from Rinpoche.
sleep long.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you. Rinpoche, thank you. Life, Rinpoche. We love you. Long life, Long life.
I love you, Rinpoche. I love you, Rinpoche.
I love you, Rinpoche. I love you. Thank you. Thank you, Rinpoche. Long life.
I love you, Rinpoche.
Life Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Life, Rinpoche. Rinpoche. So much, Rinpoche. We love you.
Tình yêu đấy, một năm tình yêu. One help forever.
Long life, Rinpoche. Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you, Rinpoche.
Long life Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Cầm cho mẹ nhé.
Oh, now take a
Rồi ạ.
By the way, this I can
Sao bé thế nhỉ? hôm nay bật đèn đó chứ.
Come on.
Xong mẹ đi Vũng Tàu luôn à? Không đi nữa à? Ôi phải đi, nếu mà không đi thì đi trước 4 giờ.
Come on.
Thank you.
Come on.
Let's all ready for Kata. How brightly look at the screen. We are also taking photographs. Yes.
Yes, baby.
Actually, we'll be taking a collage of our pictures together. Garchen Rinpoche, and this will actually stay with us for a long time. So please, everyone, look at the camera, smile brightly, hold kata, and let's wave our kata. Say our Tashitele to Garchen Rinpoche. Long life, Rinpoche. 将时长寿。
Tashitele Rinpoche.
Thank you.
Tashitele.
Everybody.
Tashitele.
Long life.
Long life, Rinpoche.
Everybody sangha how?
How?
Oh.
加油！18。
Thank you. It is now really late. Now really late, and Garchen Rinpoche has given all this rest.
Mother, thank you,
Bye. Bye bye.
Thank you. Abby. Yeah.
Dạ, chắp tay lại dạ qua công đức này.
Bye.
I love Princess.
Tango.
Không có học giỏi. Dạ, nghe lời ông. Ngoan ngoãn nghe lời ông bà cha mẹ. Dạ, con có thân hình người đẹp, trẻ đẹp. Con đây nằm mơ bộ xin cho con đi Phật.
Dharma brothers and sisters, we will will take a half an hour break. So right now it's 10:15. Let's be back here 10:45. So last call for the Changchuk. If you have yet to submit the names for Changchuk, it is at 12 o'clock today as a closing time. So if you'd like to submit the names for Changchuk, please remember to do so. And again, we're coming to the close of the retreat for the 4 days retreat. If you can still get your friends and relatives, we appeal to their generosity in making a contribution for the retreat as well as for the building fund, so that we can actually start constructing our permanent premise. Okay, thank you everyone. So let's come back again at 10:40. The session will start at 10:45 sharp. Thank you.